Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the 10th edition of our monthly Hangout, Startup Portugal Community Hangout. Be very welcome to this space, and thank you again to Ferroviário, to Pedro and Nuno for hosting us with such a success history of Hangouts in the last 10 months. It is really a pleasure being here with you and with them. Well, thank you for being here. We are also being seen and watched and accompanied by remote and online streaming. So we have also listeners and watchers from outside this room. Today we are discussing mental health. It's an important and pressing point and topic that maybe some years ago was more associated to companies like consultancy companies and companies which had a special and big pressure put it on their workers and their teams. But currently, and in the last few years, it has been more and more associated also with startups and founders, as you may know. In fact, growing a startup may be very overwhelming for the leader, for the team. He has to deal, and the team has to deal with starting up the operations, having to deal with customers, with founders, with funders, investors, and so it's a real difficult job in such a period. And so recently, and in the last years, this type of condition, as also mental health diseases and problems, have been more associated also with our community. And that's why we are discussing it here today. Obviously that the pandemic, for one side, was an opportunity to grow different types of work, and that is a good thing, but also on the opposite, make us all be online all day when working remotely, as you know, and this is an addition factor of pressure because the distinction between house, family, and work is a little bit difficult in this model. And that's a negative issue and one of the negative outcomes of this pandemic, and also is maybe an important topic to discuss here today. According to a study from Berkeley University, 72% of entrepreneurs self-reported mental health concerns or problems. This is a huge percentage. Also, entrepreneurs were significantly more likely to report a lifetime history of depression, 30%, ADHD diseases, 29%, and substance use conditions, 12%, and also bipolar diagnosis, 11%. So this means that it's a concern for all of us. The studies report that, and we also know people from our community that have passed through this, and we have some good testimonies of that here today. To help us navigate in this topic, we invite three excellent speakers. Pedro Trincão, former founder of Hager Group and now market manager for Iberia for Worldcoin, which will talk about his experience dwelling with mental health issues as a founder. So we'll have here a testimony on a direct testimony of what I was talking about. Patrícia António, psychologist who works with the project Manicómio, who will talk about the red flags that we should pay attention, as well as strategies to deal in what relates to this type of conditions and diseases. Last but not least, we'll have Anabela Figueiredo, chair of MindAlliance Portugal, that will speak about the need to take care of an organization's culture in the process of growing to make sure that no results will come to the expenses of the team's mental health. So how to grow a company, not harming the team's mental health. As I think you may know, burnout has been recognized as a disease since 2019. So World Health Organization had to recognize this as a specific disease, and that and all that I talked before are good reasons for having this debate and this discussion here with you. This conversation with these speakers will be moderated by Marcela. Thank you, Ana, from Echo, a journalist and editor for Pessoas Magazine, which is an excellent project from Echo that I recommend you to read regularly. Before leaving you with our special guests and speakers, I would like to welcome to the stage two startups that work in this area and that will pitch their projects and their proposals. So please, a round of applause to Kindology and to Team 24 founders who will be here pitching. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to be here presenting Team 24. I'm very glad to be here talking about our company. My name is Ana Ruivo, and I'm COO and co-founder of Team 24. I'm a nurse by trade and an entrepreneur by passion. What is Team 24? Team 24 is founded in March 2020. Our business model is a B2B, and we provide a software as a service. Our purpose is to provide psychological support in real time to employees of companies. And why Team 24 exists, why we are here, what's the problem that we solve? Everyone in this room, I think, know that mental health is the new pandemic. The numbers of people who struggle with mental health issues is huge, and that numbers tend to increase more and more. It's huge in Portugal, but around the world. Also, we know the negative impact that mental issues has on companies, on productivity of companies, associated with presenteeism, absenteeism, turnover, and other things. And at last but not least, there is no response, no effective response to struggle with these mental health issues in organization. So we create a solution. Our solution is a click away. We provide psychological support plan through an app. In that app, all services are confidential, anonymous, and free of charge to employees. All employees of company receive that plan as a benefit and can schedule and make video sessions with one of our psychologists, can participate in one-to-one psychological chat with one of our psychologists too, and make a phone in real time with one professional psychologist. How we grow since March 2020 to right now in this moment. We was born as a result of pandemic, of course. In that time, we designed that project. We designed our MVP. We started to test with some customers in the market, and we realized that there is a condition to create officially our company. So we founded Team 24 Official in March 2022. Since that date until now, we realized that we need to make more appeal our service, to materialize our service and make more easy to use for the employees. So we designed our app, and that app is launched in September of this year. And we have been presented our app in Web Summit in this year too. So where are we now? What are our numbers? Right now, Team 24 has 35, we manage the employees of 35 business group. These business group are made of 110 clients company, and we manage 35,000 of employees, potential users of our app, of our service. How we do this happen, how it work, our business model. Basically, we give a monthly subscription based on the team size, on number of the employees. We offer a premium service, immediately service at low cost price. Basically, companies can offer these huge benefits to their employees only since 35 centimes per employee per month. And this is our numbers. I want to share our numbers with you right now. In these 3 years, this is our sales in euros. And since 2021, when we start to test our MVP without the app, just the service, we grow 3 times more in volumes of sales. So the numbers tend to increase better and better. And what are our financial projections? We estimate in 2027, just in Portugal, to earn 7.5 million euros in sales with a 22% expected return. And what we need right now to make this happen? We need investment, about 1.5 million to increase our response to 24/7, because right now we are giving response since 9 to midnight. To create a sales and commercial structure, because our sales are just organic right now, to upgrade our app, and to expand to foreign markets, start with Spain and Brazil, and after other countries of Europe. So we trust in our projects, we trust in Team 24. This is some partners you may know that trust in our company. So I hope someone in this audience can trust in us and trust Team 24. Thank you so much.
Who came from Porto to do this speech here today. So now I want to call João Henrique Costa, co-founder of Kindology.
Sim, obrigado. Hi everyone, how are you today? I really want to know, how are you today? The reason, more or less, right? The reason I'm asking you this is because no one actually cares. This is the truth. Right now, the numbers are crazy, and this is not funny at all. 1 in 5 people have a serious mental health issue. This is something that we need to pay attention to. 8 out of 10 children with mental health disorders never get to receive any kind of treatment. You have your kids at home growing without being treated. 1 out of 3 teens are considering suicide, all right? Well, the world is sick and needs our help. There are people who cannot afford it. There are people who have stigma and taboo, who are afraid to go to the psychologist because, of course, they are afraid to get fired or to be seen as a different way in their companies and in their society. Well, we have a solution, we believe. Do you remember Robin Hood? With his bow and arrow, fighting against nobles and stealing the rich to give to the poor. That's not what we are going to do. We are doing a different thing, okay? Kindology, with this mantra. I would say it's a beautiful mantra, be kind to all kinds. We want to share love. And our way to build this is that we want actually to become the major community in the world and making mental health accessible to everyone. How are we doing this? Let me just, how can I go there? Can you read it? Yeah, that's okay, no worries. We have created a model. It's a social responsibility model where whenever you join a service or whenever you buy a product from us, you are helping others, that's below, giving some coins into a blood bank where you can help people. Well, what's there to buy? You might be asking. Our service, of course, we have a platform, a cool platform, a kind platform, I would say, where we have all the well-being stuff for companies and individuals to get access to mental health and to get access to therapists in an individual or a group training, workshops, boot camps, wherever you want as a company, okay? We have it all, but this is not the difference. This is what every kind of company acting in this mental health field is doing. What we have built or what we are building right now is a community. We want to involve influencers, ambassadors, people who actually don't feel the way to go to mental health treatment right now, but people who get involved with kindology want to be embraced by what we are doing for the future and for the future of our kids and our society. And this is a community where everyone can join, where we involve the companies that are our clients already, and they place their social responsibility model right in place, where people can really see what's going on inside the companies. So we have a plan to help 100,000 people in 5 years. So right now and today, I want you to be part of this community. And actually, there's the giveaway for you, okay? This is the end of my presentation because kindology loves you. And I have a quick offer for you, okay? So right now I have a challenge. You go to our Instagram, you just click on follow, send us a message. They have a gift for you, all right? The first one to join us will get this offer, all right? Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
I'll give you some time to go to kindology Instagram page. Okay, and now I want to call Ana Marcela to our stage, who will present our speakers for today. Thank you, Ana, for accepting our invitation. An applause to Ana.
Thank you for the invitation, first of all, and thank you, António, for the nice recommendation to read the People's Magazine, not the American one, the Portuguese one. Today, we are talking about mental health. I think the numbers are very explicit to show the huge problem we have in hands. And to discuss all this, we have Pedro Trincão, he's former Hugger Group founder, and António has already talked about these other. We also have Patrícia and António from Manicómio. And last but not least, Anabela Figueiredo from MindAlliance. Oops. Okay, no Jennifer Lawrence situation here. Okay, Anabela, it was the last to come to the stage, but I'll start with you. You are responsible for MindAlliance in Portugal. It's an ONG, as he's been working on these mental health issues. And I had some numbers here, but I guess the presentation from António showed the dimension of this problem. But just adding to the problem, as you know, Portugal is considered one of the countries with the biggest risk of workers' burnout, and the consumption of antidepressants has grown in the past decade. We are in Europe, unfortunately, we are in the top ranking. So my question, do companies should get involved in this discussion about mental health? And if so, what should they do to help their people, navigate in this situation?
I think the first answer is absolutely. And there are a lot of reasons why. First, if you think about, every organization has some fraction of society at their service, and that spends most of their waking hours serving that organization. And I think there's a responsibility to care. It's about a relationship in the contract. I think that there are a number of different ways organizations should intervene and interact. First, I think it's around supporting. And I think there are two perspectives in terms of caring in terms of mental health. One is around having the tools so we can take care of ourselves, whether it's awareness, whether it's therapy, whether it's mindfulness, and it will be different for each person. It's figuring out what it is, but making sure that those tools are available for employees. The second, and this is the one I'm trying to bring in some challenge and some disruption, is that organizations start to understand that their organizational model, their organizational culture, the leadership style, even the norms that are not written, they will have an impact on the mental health of the employees that could even be positive or negative. And I think that once employers start to understand and assume that they have a role, maybe they can change it and contribute more positively.
And for you, Patrícia, we talked before we started this conversation about the fact that since the pandemic, the type of situations that come up to you at your office are quite different from before. Before it probably was more, emotional reasons, love affairs that went wrong or something like that. And now the talk is basically about work issues and the burnout and all that type of situations. Can you share a bit more about what sort of problems come to you and what sort of situations people, what sort of strategies they can use, to get ahead and move along?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. That's true. The need for help is changing because work and all the frenetic way of living nowadays changed our natural roles, like a person, it's myself, like a mother, like a friend, like a employee, and that changed the way people are acquiring, the way they are driving the energy into the work, because this frenetic also changed the way relationships are taken care. And when people enter to an office or corporation or everything, they are entering with their inner issues that all kind of needs that were not met, and a professional role sometimes is like, well, that's my goal, my only goal. And when we face that anxiety, and we face also a culture or some kind of role model that do not recognize you, do not interesting like the other people. How are you today? The connections are more and more less impersonal, are more and more online, 5 minutes to talk, and nobody cares if
you feel remote work, which kind of became, I wouldn't say mainstream, but at least a lot more people are doing telework. Do you feel that that contributed to the mental health problems?
I think they are
disconnected.
Yeah, I think they have two faces. For some people, it was the best solution because they were facing a lot of mental health problems in working places. So now I have a refugee, I have my own space, and I feel more or less depressive and anxious because of all the interactions that I was involved. And for that part, that's the worst part, because it was supposed to be okay being at work and then be at home for the daily things at home. And when you see that being at home is a refugee for some kind of problem, that's not okay. And on the other hand, for some people, and when concerning family systems also from some people, the mobility and the flexibility that the pandemic and these new models came up, also it was very okay. For instance, concerning to psychotherapy, we now have a lot of people doing online therapy, mostly combined with presential sessions, and that gave the opportunity to maintain mental health work, even though people are away abroad or they were at home during the pandemic. The pandemic was a hard theme for professionals like me, because most of us were like in burnout also, because everyone was facing huge problems and anxieties, and mental health professions were at the front line. But we are also people, and we are also families, and we have also our problems, and that was a good idea. Okay, mental health, it's in the order of the day, but we don't have the necessary accessibility for everyone. So it's a double kind of
double-edged situation.
Yes.
Pedro, you're from the startup ecosystem. You are a founder. All this talk about mental health, is it really a reality in the startup, or is this just doing the talk, not doing the walk?
No, it's definitely a reality. I think most of the founders don't talk about it because we are focused in delivering results, and we want to be in newspapers like Echo announcing the next fundraising round, or and that's what tends to be the story. And I mean, I can give my context, so which is kind of a funny, not funny story, because I have anxiety since I was little, panic attacks, whatever. So therapy is something that I've been doing for quite a while. Recently, I switched to online therapy because I'm traveling a lot, and I have good feedback.
You're
so
still a real person with a real therapist.
no, yeah. So I mean, you can interact, you can see facial reactions, which is really super important. So I wanted to create something that fixed the problem that I had. Right? So I was having anxiety. I was struggling talking with my friends about it. So I wanted to create a community around it. So we kind of iterated a lot, and we created a mental health platform that connected people in support groups, online support groups. So the therapist would moderate a group with between 3 to 8 people, and we would help in that way. So that was the main concept. The thing is, running a startup is not easy. So when you start building a company, in the beginning, it's like a moon, missing the word for lua de mel, a moon, honeymoon. Sorry, honeymoon phase, right? Like you are hustling and you want to make it happen, and you are skipping meals, and you are skipping sleep, and you are working during the weekends because it's your dream and you want to make it happen. It's your vision, right? And then things start working well. You start being accepted into, I don't know, incubators.
You get all the round apps.
You get validation, right? So things start going well, and you you are associated with the ups and downs of the business. Like if everything is going really well, you are on the top of the moon, but if suddenly something bad happens, you are not on the top of the moon, let's say. So I've met some, I've openly discussed my journey of when things started not to work well with Hug Group. I became burned out because, you like with no taboos, like when you don't have money to pay your employees, because you were, of course, this can sound like, yeah, this guy is just talking and doesn't know how to manage a company. That can be also true. But when you have serious trouble in a company that you build, that you work so hard to build, and then you are struggling to make ends meet, this can take a toll on you personally, right? So, and take harsh decisions like firing people because you don't have money to pay them, and like people that believed in you, was working in a startup, is believing in the vision. So yeah, that happened to me.
And it's very family kind of type situation,
Yeah.
Your employees are kind of family.
Yeah, they are the early dreamers.
So you were firing your
Family, yeah. Not because I don't like them, not because they were not good, but because things didn't work out, right? So I mean, and there's like this thin line between knowing when to give up and continue just, you know, continue on the way that is not going to be healthy for you. Like for me, when I decided that it was time to quit or time to move on, we were not financially in a good place, so we were already not making ends meet. I was not healthy. I was like, when we ended Hug Group, I was physically ill, having panic attacks when I was leaving home. So I was really struggling. And before that, so thank God that I had the network, that the support system at home with my friends and family that supported me throughout that time, because it was not easy. So if the question is if it happens, I live it, and I know that other founders live it. I was with a couple of founders that were in this particularly same situation as me 2 weeks ago, discussing like failures in entrepreneurship. It's something that it's not talked about, and
like
thank God for Startup Portugal to organize.
The success and not about the
yes, and I mean most of the entrepreneurs that we meet, they I mean if a project doesn't succeed, they will go through this. Of course, each person has each way of reacting, right? I mean, I had that problem because, you know, I didn't react well to adversity in that specific scenario because it was a lot of stress for me. Maybe other people can react in a different way, but of course it's stressful. Of course we'll be, you know, like when you are not able to continue your vision and to continue your company, and you are struggling and you are disappointing people that depend on you, it takes a lot of stress on someone, you know, like it's hard.
It's hard. Anabela, the situation Pedro has described, I'm guessing it could be the situation in any number of employees in a big organization. What sort of measures should companies should have in place in order to, you know, detect this person is starting in a burnout process, his mental health or her mental health is slipping? What sort of things companies should do? Because I hear a lot of things like sabbaticals and mental health licenses, and there's, you know, all this, you know, mindfulness, all that stuff, all those buzzwords. But at the end, what's really, you know, happening in the companies, what's really working in order to detect that problem? Because burnout doesn't happen, you know, out of the blue. It happens gradually.
I love retreats. I'm on sabbatical now, so nothing against it. Mindfulness also. Now I'm not good at it, but I have nothing against all those different therapies. I can't sit still. But I think that in order to identify the triggers, there are a lot of different ways, and I'm not going to behave like a psychologist because I'm not. But the organizations can implement a lot of things. So one of the things they can do is give the people managers mental health first aid training, so that the actual managers can spot when there's something that needs to be done. And sometimes it doesn't need to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Maybe there's some kind of therapy or coaching, or maybe just an afternoon off for a mental health afternoon. But learning how to deal and understand those signs. I think that more than, and treating is important. For me, I think it's even more important if organizations start to think about prevention. And maybe going a little bit to what we were hearing now, which is, and this happens in the entrepreneur world, but it happens in the corporate world too. We get completely sucked up by this beautiful ladder that they put in front of you. And they say, if you take these steps and you win this and you get to jump this ladder and you get another fancy title. And if you go this faster, then you get something else. So we get completely sucked up by this dream of, if I keep pushing harder and harder and harder, I get a bigger salary and a fancier title and a bigger office, and maybe even the corner office if I work hard enough, right? So I think it different types of stresses, but we do get sucked up into these stresses. What I would like to see organizations start to do is, number one, reduce the stigma, so that if somebody is ill, they do know how to knock on somebody's door and where to go, or even ask for their manager for some help. But I would also like to see organizations looking at people in a different way. which is, am I pushing too hard? Number two, is this a good balance? Because there comes a point in time where, and I think people, all the entrepreneurs in the room will probably be able to relate, where it really doesn't matter how many hours you put in, because before you're able to rest and reset, you're not going to get any quality work of the hours you're going to put in anyway. So what's that right measure, and understanding that there isn't the right answer for everybody? Maybe for you it's 10 hours a day, maybe for me it's 4, and I need to recuperate before I can be performance again. And it's learning how to understand their people and how to optimize and get the best performance, understanding that if people don't go home and rest will mean something different for different people, they're not going to get performance anyway.
But it's just, do you feel the companies are really aware of that?
No, I'm hoping they will be.
Because now the situation, the economic situation is not as good. The tech sector is, going through a storm. Pedro works in crypto, so we won't talk about crypto. But we all know the situation, what's happening in that specific sector. So I'm wondering if the companies in this hustle, to produce results, to, get ahead, make ends meet, because they have to pay their employees and share the dividends with the shareholders. Are they really taking in consideration those sort of warnings? Because they can have the measures and not using them.
I completely agree. I think they have. Well, again, organizations behave like people. We all know what's good for us, right? What we should eat, what we shouldn't eat, what we should drink, how much we should drink, how much we shouldn't. And sometimes we just let ourselves go. And even though we know what the right answer is, when something gets tight, we don't make the best decision. And I think it's fair for us to look at organizations with the same compassion and empathy as we make decisions ourselves. But organizations are starting, and unfortunately they're still only starting, to understand that there's a point at which where no matter how much you need to make ends meet and how much you need to hustle and how much you need to push, for a certain moment, you're not going to get performance, you're not going to get quality. We're turning off our cognitive ability, so creativity and productivity is not going to come out. It's actually counterproductive. Now I'm the one that's missing the English.
Counterproductive.
Thank you. It's counterproductive because we're actually pushing and we're reducing the productivity and the quality that's coming out. And hopefully organizations will understand. I mean, I'm not saying that organizations start to send everybody home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and we all go do mindfulness or play golf or something. That's not the thing. Some people will want that life, and that's fine. Totally respect that. And then stress isn't only about not having stress. I mean, there are psychologists in the room that will explain that we do need stress to have a healthy mind. So there is tension that needs to exist. But there's only so much you can hustle, because then you run out of good quality output that comes from our people.
Mm-hmm. Pedro, you talk about mental health and the fact that it's people talk about it not as a taboo. Before it was something let's not talk about mental health. Do you feel the talk in the ecosystem is already happening, or people still are very much afraid to share their fears, and especially leaders, because you went through that specific situation, was very stressful, you already explained, but do you feel that other founders will be as open to talk about their struggles as you are now?
I think so.
Or they feel they need to, be the leader?
It depends on...
No fear.
As I was saying, I've met a couple of founders 2 weeks ago in a similar event, and they were open about it. I think there's a lot of stories to be told on why companies fail, and there are more companies that fail than the ones that succeed. So it's just a matter of going there and trying to understand what happens. Sometimes it can be product market fit. Sometimes it can be founders just have a discussion and they don't agree on cap table. I don't know. And that has a lot of emotional toll. And of course, those situations are not good from a mental standpoint. So I think there's definitely much more talk being around. The proof is that there's an event on mental health run by Startup Portugal. So if it wasn't the case, you wouldn't be here. Of course, it's easier for me to talk when I'm not an entrepreneur anymore. You know, like, because when you're an entrepreneur, you want to be at your best all the time that you are in public. Like, you don't want to tell, yeah, I don't have, I'm struggling with cash flow, you know, and and you have your investors and your clients in the room. So it's tough for the ones that are currently trying to build their vision. So I'm not saying that they should openly talk about their issues because it can hurt their business, but it's okay to, you know, yeah, I took a day yesterday because I wasn't able to crack this client or to do X, Y, Z. So I think it should be okay for founders to not fall into the hustle culture of being always pitching, always on, you know, like Gary Vaynerchuk, that you're always pitching and always grinding. I'm not a fan of that culture. I'm more a fan of camels, which are slow but steady animals that go on their own way, right? Yeah, I'm not sure what's the answer. I think it depends on.
There's no right or wrong
Yeah.
answer.
Of course, it's hard. I mean, if for instance, when I was dealing with closing her group, if someone approached me to talk, of course I would say no. Like, that's not that. It's not the time. I will not be involved in whatever event, because, I mean, you are going through it. You have commitments that you make that you want to conclude, and you have responsibilities. But at the same time, it should be okay for founders to be able to discuss how they are building their company and what they are doing. Because if they are succeeding, it means that they are doing good in terms of managing not only their business, but also the relationship that they have with the business. And if they are struggling there, and if they are seeing the early signs of not resting, not being happy, because sometimes burnout can come from, yeah, I'm not happy from what I'm doing, right? And now I have a company with 5-6 employees and I cannot quit because it's something that I created, but I don't like the job anymore. So these type of discussions can happen, but it needs to be in a proper environment, right? So asking these questions to founders, it's really tricky.
On a hangout.
Yeah, because I mean,
hangout.
if I were them, of course, I would say, yeah, everything is good. I rest, super entrepreneur. Of course, it's their business, right? They want to be reliable. Yeah, so it's tough.
Okay, Patrícia.
Maybe we can create a support group for entrepreneurs.
After this group in Instagram, we'll start a club. Patrícia, a final question, because I'm guessing my time is up. We talk about the employees, but Pedro was a leader. He faced huge issues, and he had to put on some face for their team. So I'm guessing the people who come to you also can be on that type of situation. Yes. Any recommendations for founders, for people who are in the leadership position that face that struggle?
Well, first of all, we are all people, and sometimes we are not aware of our specific needs, and that's a development. I don't know.
Development.
Yeah, you say it better. That's a developmental issue, and sometimes when I have like an owner or a founder of in the office, it's important to connect what this effort is. What is the function? Why are you so enrolled in without limits in this kind of in your project? What this is helping you concerning other needs? It's like, for example, for workaholics, it's important not to question, why are we working so hard? We must stop working. It's not good for your health. That's not the question. We must face. No, the question is, what's the function and what's your suffering? Because working a lot is helping you in some way. It's giving you some relief concerning some other needs. And in a clinical situation, in a therapeutic situation, that's the main proposal. Why it's, well, what's the suffering? What's why are you so inside these roles? Why it's so hard to deliver some of your work to your partner? Why are you why you have this special need to take over everything to yourself? Where this come from? And that's the main point. It's to be and to relate to the person, to self-awareness, and also to understanding that maybe there's another way of satisfy and relieve the pain without such a hard compromises. Without, for example, I don't know if I can take your example, but well, concerning anxieties and panic attacks and so on, probably if I'm focused on a role, that can help me not having panic attacks. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm focused, and it works, and I can pursue that kind of way of living because I felt at first instance a kind of relief concerning my mental health issue underlying. And that's the way we work with people. Okay, why are you so worried? How come you are with so many responsibilities? Because you have a director and subdirector and all kinds. What kind of relationship do you have with your team? Why you feel so responsible if you have the financial support and that's a way of addressing the burnout of leadership, for example, just to translate what the behavior was so
Why the behavior began
in the first place and relate it, trying to understand the inner conflicts, the inner issues that are underlying the way the people are performing at work, even the owners, even the employees, and so on. The behavior tells a story. So if you can take care of the story with the person, probably you can have another kind of solutions.
Okay, nice ending. Behavior, a story, and we are all people. I'm guessing we have a Q&A. So any questions, please raise your hands and say whoever you want to get an answer for.
So are there any questions from the...
Hi, I've got a question for Pedro, if I may. Hi. You posted, maybe it was maybe a year ago, you posted a post on LinkedIn telling your story, and that was like one of the most amazing things I read. It was so powerful and really sort of spoke to me. And I thought, well, somebody has actually got the courage to come out and sort of say and tell the story. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. So thank you very much, because that really had an effect on me. That was because I was in a similar situation to you, not on the same level. I had just begun a startup and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was all a mess. But the trauma is still the same. You know, you get the same emotional sort of difficulties having to deal with co-founders and so on. So that sort of really helped me a lot, just that somebody could have the courage to stand up and sort of say, look, I had this situation. So thank you for that. My question is, do you think that there's anything that can be done about the pressure that is put on founders from, for example, social media or LinkedIn or the sort of fellow co-founders or people in the ecosystem to sort of succeed and grow and push? And because there's like, nobody has the, it's really hard to say like, no, or I can't do it, or we're having trouble, or, you know, everything has to be positive and happy, and there's no room for negativity. Is there any way of sort of just trying to make that a little bit easier for people to say, wait a second, I'm not doing so well, or?
Well, thank you so much. I was not expecting someone. So yeah, thank you for the words. I mean, it kind of relates to what Anna was asking, right? I mean, I understand, like, when you are building your startup, you don't want to be the one saying, yeah, things are not well in this side, right? Because of the pressures that you were saying. You want to have clients, you want to reach to investors, and like the image of the perfect entrepreneur, right? So it's hard. I don't know if there's anything that we can do about it, because, to be honest, when I was building her group, I didn't want people to know, at least when things were doing well, and I was struggling a bit in terms of mental health, but it was not the same as like in the last 6-7 months. I think, for one, it helps telling stories maybe similar to mine. I'm not saying that I'm a savior and I'm here, hey guys, yeah, look at me. No, I'm not. That's not my point. But, like, as much as we tell a story, and also coming from corporate, I mean, we saw big corporate leaders telling their stories with burnouts. Of course, they are different from the entrepreneurship role, but bringing the topic to discussion, I think it helps a lot, and it can relate to other founders that are in the same process. At the same time, I mean, I'm not going to say that the media should report on, or should stop reporting on, fundraising and new achievements, because they're part of the game. But maybe from Startup Portugal or other players in the ecosystem that they interact with entrepreneurs on a daily basis, to, like, be kind, as the one entrepreneur mentioned, like, and take care of their entrepreneurs. If they are seeing that, if I run an incubator and I see that there's a project that is not going well, I should go and help them, and not like, okay, I'll just focus on the guys that are doing well, because they are the ones that are going to drive my incubator, right? This kind of help from support players in the ecosystem can be a good answer.
Sorry, can I ask? Sorry, I don't want to hog the Q&A. Do you think that, from your experience, do you think that there is enough support, or from incubators, or whatever, or can there be more? Is there more to be done?
From a mental health perspective, I think it can be done more. From a business perspective, I think the ecosystem is really healthy, let's say, but you only focus on the successful cases, right? The ones that you want as an incubator, or as, I don't know, as something that a venture builder or whatever, that you want to showcase to investors. Like, you want to hide the guys that are doing bad, these guys, poor guys. But those guys are struggling, and closing a business or closing a project is super hard. So maybe there can be something done in that way. I don't want to say that everything is going wrong. I'm just saying that maybe there's something to do there, because, at least from my experience, when we were on the lowest of the ends, we didn't have much help, to be honest. So that's what I'm saying. I'm lucky that my support system was there for me, because from a business standpoint, it's hard. From a business standpoint, in the relationship with incubators and other investors, etc. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Wait, thanks a lot. I have a question to the ladies, and I do it short. When I look back more than 40 years, we had exactly the same pressure as we have today. But today we talk about burnout. We have a big industry around burnout. What is the main reason for that?
Well,
It's a big question. I can add in afterwards.
okay, after me. Well, one main reason is, I think, it's the acknowledge that we can talk about these issues, and that's important, because burnout, it's exactly the other way around. When you don't talk about your feelings, when you start feeling not in a good purpose with this job, but you put inside, and you do all that path alone, you're going burnout. So I think today, and I think pandemic also took this equality experience. Everyone all over the world was facing a huge surveillance mode, a huge pressure, and we were at the same board, okay? And that I think puts people more like face to face, and that your problem, it's my problem, and that equality, I think, helped to take knowledge of these issues. And also, I think we are more able to be real, to talk about emotions than our ancestors, and realize. I think nowadays we are more able to translate the needs. The numbers are more more available, but also people now they tell, I need a psychology, I need help. I think stigma and are altogether are taking a little bit part of that stigma, and that also changed. I think when I'm concerned, for example, if well, my father, he had a long time ago, he had a problem concerning the cooperative pressure. They were a merge of different corporations, and there was a lot of pressure about the role he had concerning other employees and so on. And that was like 20 years ago. I was studying. I was not a psychologist that way, but I was studying, and I remember that there was no way to talk about that, what happened. There was no words to talk. And nowadays I think that changed, and that's good. I think that's. Now we talk, now we have to put forward, we have to make accessibility a reality for everyone. And I think we are moving.
Yeah, thanks a lot for answering. I let it stand like that. Maybe we have more time on the roof. I have for a further question, but it would take too much time now. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, maybe I can make one question to Anabela, I think. Just trying to understand a bit more about MindAlliance. I saw that you work with companies specifically, but I was trying to understand if it is big companies, small companies, founders around all the company, just trying to understand a bit more.
Well, after more than 20 years in corporates, I'm trying on my entrepreneur exercise myself, because we're setting up this NGO in Portugal and we're still trying to get a bank account open. MindAlliance here. First, you need a meeting to have the bank account, but you need the bank account to have the meeting. I'm stuck there. So I'm starting to feel your pain a lot more than I did before.
Maybe you should open a crypto wallet. You're saying, I have one if you want. No, I'm kidding.
So MindAlliance is actually a replica of an organization that I worked with in the UK. The original organization was City Mental Health Alliance. It started about 12 years ago with a senior partner at Linklaters. That, like, happens in the UK at the pub with some colleagues talking about the mental health of his people. Started to decide that he wanted to have a role in improving the mental health of his team. So first he got it onto the board at Linklaters. Then he got 3 more people together from the city. So Goldman Sachs also joined in and KPMG. And then 12 years later, it grew, and it has dozens and dozens of corporations. It actually started in this city, so it was financial services, big corporations. In the UK, it's maintained mostly, although different type of industries are coming in. Around the globe, it's changing, right? It's not applicable to Portugal. If we were to work with the corporations in Portugal, we'd leave out the majority of the employees in Portugal. So it's not going to be just big organizations, it's going to be all size organizations that want to join. The ambition that we have at present is, I'd say multiple fold. I don't even know what my exact N is, But on one hand, it is about ensuring that organizations create a decent menu, and I'd be happy if it was a decent menu of tools and self-care options so that people can take care of themselves. Reduce the stigma and normalize the conversation so people aren't scared to ask for to use the different tools. We find out that less than 30% of people in companies know what self-care they have for mental health, and less than half actually use it. And then my real ambition is that organizations start to understand how their behavior has an impact on the mental health of their people. That's what I would really like to happen before I die. Yeah, it's going to take a while, right?
Well, you have to
And I
start
hope I
somewhere.
last a lot of years.
Well, and I hope you get your bank account as well. I had to close mine, and it was 1 month. Wow, top of the tops. I didn't have crypto, sorry. Should have used that. Any more questions? Oh, another one?
Hello. My question is for everyone. So what do you recommend to the new entrepreneurs that are starting a new company, a new startup? Do you think they should avoid this process of 100% or 200% of effort on their projects and finding investors, pitching, whatever? Do you think they should avoid this forced burnout on their vision, on their projects, or do you think they should take care more of their mental health while they are starting, or do you think they should do all the effort in the beginning to have some results and then think about the mental health? This taking into account that the market is very competitive as we know it. So that's my question.
I think that's for you, Pedro.
Okay. I mean, one thing doesn't, you can be pitching and working hard without burning yourself out, right? So one thing doesn't, like, doing the whole entrepreneur shtick doesn't mean that you need to end up burning out. I think it's a matter of setting up some boundaries. Like, you need to have time for other things than your business. You need to interact with other people than your employees. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to breathe, right? So I'm not saying that you should not hustle, right? I think it's part of the, like, you're excited. Like I remember, like, coming home after a long day work, having dinner, and like, yeah, I want to keep working, you know, like, and sometimes it can happen and you're into it. The main thing is, like, you need to look into your habits, right? Are you struggling to sleep? Are you struggling to eat? Is your appetite deferring? Like, these types of signs. But no, you should not. Come on, it's your business. You should be the one defending it and making sure that it grows. So yeah, put in the effort, but take care of yourself at the same time.
Can I add to that? I think it's for entrepreneurs. I think that sometimes we need to understand what you're jumping into. And I say this for entrepreneurs. I'll say this for, you have the kids now that are going into the top tier. They want to go to Ivy League schools, and the pressure is high, and the number of kids now with mental illness is significant, especially in these top tier schools. You have these big corporations that have these big programs where, you know, they try and kill half of them before you get to up that ladder. I think it's like everything. If you're gonna sign up for a marathon, you don't go running on the marathon on the day. You prepare, right? You sleep, you train, you eat, you do a bunch of things so that when you get into that day, you don't collapse a kilometer in. And I think what's important is that, and these communities are important for that, to understand that if you're gonna go into an entrepreneurship, you're going into a marathon. So you need to take care of what you eat and how you sleep and whatever is the recipe for you in particular, because it might, and I think it is different for each person. I think sometimes that's the trick that's not told, is that you're going into the marathon and you don't train, right? We have the World Cup going on now. and my kid likes to play soccer, so you hear about Cristiano Ronaldo every single day in the house. And mostly what we talk about is what he eats, how he trains, how many times he sleeps, how disciplined he is. Top performer, right? But he makes sure that he goes through those self-care steps and that he's fully monitoring. There's nothing wrong with giving it 200% as long as your body's ready to give those 200% with whatever fuel you need. Does that make sense?
Our time is up. Sorry, I should have said it was the last question. I think there's some drinks on the rooftop. I think we can discuss all these topics, in a more relaxed manner. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And let's be people on the rooftop.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Okay, so just a little note before we go up. I just want to remind you, just have good news. So on Friday, the 25th, the applications for the startup vouchers will open. So stay tuned to our social media and all our networks. And our next hangout will be on December 21st. So you're all invited. We'll be doing like a wrap up of what happened this year of 2022. So you're all invited, and I hope to see you next month here. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.